and welcome to Tina's Joyful Kitchen. Tina McDermott here, the lazy inspirational chef. And on today's show, it's all going to be about Hispanic Heritage Month. It starts September 15th, ends October 15th. So we are going to make pork carnitas, or carnitas, if you want me to all roll my R's, carnitas. And we're going to make cheesy bread. Now, I've always heard this as Brazilian bites, Brazilian bread. We're going to make this cheesy bread that I absolutely love, 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 love. All right, let's get started. I'm going to put my little gloves here. This is another kitchen hack for you. Grab yourself a box of gloves so you are not touching meat and then touching everything else. And or just use your regular bare hands and just make sure that you wash your hands after touching the meat. I know. I always have to lecture that. Every time I do, actually I did that once and someone from the State Department said, "Thank you, Tina." And I'm like, oh, I just always have to remind people, wash their hands, wash their hands. Now, when you make pork carnitas, what you really want is a pork butt or a pork shoulder because it's got a lot of fat. Although we're going to render some of the fat off of it, if you don't have, you can't find that at the store. I went to 3 stores yesterday and I couldn't find pork butt or pork shoulder, but I found pork tenderloin. It doesn't have as much fat on it and it will be absolutely delicious and even more tender. I'm going to be cooking this in my Instant Pot, so I don't want bigger pieces. I want to cut this into smaller pieces. So smaller chunks, nothing, no, we're gonna pull it apart later. So you don't have to do smaller pieces, okay? You don't have to do tiny pieces. Big chunks are perfectly fine, just so that they fit in here. Now, what we could have done, what I could do is sear the meat ahead of time, and you can always skip that step. You can always skip that step because remember, I call myself the lazy inspirational chef, and I don't have time for all of that stuff all of the time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Now I'm going to rub the pork with a rub that I made, that oregano, cumin, and some garlic. Now look, you can use garlic powder if you want. You can use garlic powder, but I prefer to use fresh garlic because fresh garlic is immune boosting. When they make a powder out of it, the powder has it's high heat and it dissipates all of the good nutrition in it. So it's gone. Now, because I had meat on my hands and I touched that garlic, unfortunately, that is going to go right into compost. Okay, so we've already have garlic that has been smashed, fresh garlic. We've got our oregano and we've got our cumin. If you want other spices, if you want cayenne pepper, by all means, put that in there because remember, inspiration, what do you like? But this is one of the traditional ones, okay? Make sure I got everything in here. Okay, sea salt, that's what I'm missing. I knew I was missing something. So we're gonna do 1 big old tablespoon. You can do 2 tablespoons, but my husband's going low sodium these days due to kidney stones. So we're just gonna do 1 tablespoon of some sea salt in my rub, okay? Feel free to do 2. But also, the recipe calls for 5 pounds of meat, and I've got about 2.5 pounds, which is perfectly fine. And the more spices, the better. If you have them fresh, even better, right? So let's see. I think you could also do some freshly ground black pepper in this rub. And I don't have any freshly ground black pepper in this rub. So did you put pepper in here? No? Okay. So excuse me 1 second. I'll be right back. Can you grab my pepper over here? Right there? And can you grind it in there? Always have an assistant with you so you don't have to wash your hands 24/7. Thank you, my love. You can put that right there. Okay. Freshly ground black pepper, there it is. Always want that pepper flavor. I love it freshly ground because it's fresher and I dare you to do a taste test, maybe salad. Put the regular black pepper that's already ground and then have another salad that has freshly ground black pepper. You will be amazed. All right, let's do this with our hands. I'm just gonna rub this, literally, it's why it's called a rub. You're gonna rub it into the pieces. You're just gonna rub it all into the pieces. Here we go. Rub it Rub it into all of the pieces. If you have a big pork butt and there's little crevices here and there, you rub it all into the crevices. And there's nothing perfect about this. It's just, you don't have to be perfect. Again, if you wanted to, you can put a little bit of olive oil in here and sear it on each of the sides, but you don't have to. That just helps pop the flavor a little bit, but trust me, you're going to get amazing tasting carnitas, even if you don't sear it. Okay? Okay, there we have it. And now I'm going to layer a little bit of onions at the bottom. And then I'm going to put my pork in there. And now I'm going to put the rest of the onions on the top. Now I'm going to put more in here. Give me a couple of seconds here. Give me a couple of seconds. What I want to do now, before I go and touch everything, I'm going to take my gloves off. And I'm going to put the stuff that had pork on it aside. Okay? Including my knife. Okay, so here we got it. Here we have it. Here we got it. Here we have it. We've got onions layered with the pork. More onions on top. If you like a lot of onions, put more onions in there. We're going to put some jalapeno. Let me grab another knife. And I want to show you how to cut a jalapeno that I hope will rock your world. The seeds are very, very, very spicy. Or not very. Jalapenos are one of the least spicy peppers that are out there, but I don't like things too crazy spicy. But the seeds, you don't want the seeds in your carnitas. So we're going to get rid of the seeds. And a lot of times people try to get the seeds away from the pepper, but I'm going to show you how to cut the pepper around the seeds. Round things flat. So first things first, I want you to trim that off. I want you to stand this up like flat, right? And you're going to grip your little jalapeno with your fingers. And you're going to get your knife very carefully. And you're going to cut it in a beveled shape, okay? I'm cutting the pepper around the seeds. There we go. Oh, got a little seeds in there. Watch your fingers. There we go. There we go. There we go. I cut my pepper around my seeds. And this way you don't have seeds that go all over the place. And they go right into the compost. Right into the compost. Okay, let's mince our jalapeno. Oops. The floor got that piece, but that's okay. This is a big one. And it's okay if there's a little bit of seeds in there. It's not going to hurt anything, okay? Okay. Always when you're cutting anything, you do not look at anybody. You look at the food that you are cutting. Never use the blade of the knife to pick up your food. You could cut yourself, number one. Number two, you dull the blade. Okay, remember number one, you can cut yourself. So let's layer in here. I've got onions, pork, more onions. This is orange juice and lime juice. I'm just going to pour the whole baby right in there. Then we're going to put a couple of cinnamon sticks right in there. And we're going to put a couple of bay leaves right in there. Keep them whole. You can pull them out later. And let's see if I'm missing anything in here. I think I was supposed to put a little bit of olive oil in there at the bottom, but it's okay. We'll put a little olive oil right here at the top. Doesn't matter. In Instant Pots, you just layer stuff. You layer it, you layer it, you layer it. Okay. All right, I got everything in there. Oranges, limes, onions, garlic. We have a lot of garlic on the rub, which is perfect. And what else? Jalapeno, cinnamon sticks. We're done. Here we go. Let's get the lid for the Instant Pot. Now this is an important piece I want to talk to you about. I've talked about this in past shows, but you see how this is a little discolored? It's because when I cook meats with it, it has discolored over the years. And always remove this, wash it and dry it thoroughly. And then when I go to store it, it stores sitting on top like so, okay? And make sure you wash your lid. This lid can go under water, okay? At first I wasn't sure when I first got this several years ago how to wash the lid, but yeah, you can put it right under water, just not in the dishwasher. So right before you're about to use it, you seat that gasket, okay? Now, this gasket I wouldn't use if I'm baking or fish in the Instant Pot. This is basically for meats, is what I use it for. We're gonna put the lid on. There you go. It'll seat for you, and then you're gonna turn it to lock it. This is the valve, and I want you to turn it to sealed, to closed position, okay? And then we're going to high pressure for 60 minutes. Don't need to keep warm. Okay, high pressure, no, it's 40 minutes. I'm sorry, this recipe is only 40 minutes. So let me lower that number to 40 minutes. It only needs to cook for 40 minutes. Now with the Instant Pot, there we go. With the Instant Pot A, it's going to beep in a couple of seconds to say, hey, I'm on, I'm working. And then it's going to take maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 15 minutes to come up, see, I'm on, to come up to pressure. So the timer is not going to start until it's at full pressure. Once it's at full pressure, then the timer will start and it'll cook for 40 minutes. After that, it will take maybe 10, maybe 20 minutes for it to naturally release the steam. I can show you later how to release the steam without hurting yourself and to do a quick release of the steam, okay? Once that is done, we're going to separate the juices, we're gonna pull the pork, and then we're gonna fry up the pork in a cast iron skillet, and then we're going to have true carnitas. All right, we'll be right back with that. While that is cooking, we are going to make cheesy bread, that Brazilian cheesy bread that I absolutely love, love, love. Once again, low in carbohydrates, low in sugars. So it's really delicious and you don't have to have any guilt with this. All right, so let's get all of my ingredients for cheesy bread. Oh, and we're gonna make Pico De Gallo today too. I almost forgot about the Pico De Gallo. How can I forget about Pico De Gallo? That is next. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna do this in our food processor, okay? With the food processor, we need the blade. So we're gonna grab the blade. Give me a couple of seconds here to grab the blade in the other room. And, okay. I'm gonna dry that out. I got it. It's right here. Okay. Got my blade for the food processor. Now, we're going to do, for this, we're going to do 2 cups of, let me turn this around so you see it, okay? 2 cups of, you can use either cassava flour or tapioca flour. They're literally interchangeable. The cassava flour has a little bit more fiber in it and it makes it a little more dense, and this one makes it, the tapioca flour makes it a little fluffier, just a little fluffier. Okay, so we've got 2 cups of cassava flour. We're gonna put that in. Let me do the liquid first. Always do the liquid in the food processors and blenders, liquid first. So this is 1 cup of whole milk. 1 cup of whole milk. There we have the milk. We're gonna do 2 eggs, and I'm gonna get a little ramekin that I have my eggs. Thank you, dear. Remember, always crack your eggs in a separate bowl in case they are not good and you don't want to just ruin the rest of your ingredients, okay? How do you know it's a bad egg? It smells, it's discolored, it's liquidy looking, so we don't want that. So we've got our eggs in there, we've got avocado, 1/3 of a cup of avocado oil. You can use olive oil here too. I just have avocado oil. They're both heart healthy. Olive oil, just different flavors. I think the avocado oil is a little less sharp, okay? It's a little more mild tasting, a little more mild. 1/3 cup, 1 cup of shredded cheese. This is queso fresco. This was queso fresco. You could also use feta cheese if you wanted feta cheese in this. And it's already shredded. You don't want to put the big block in the food processor. It'll be harder to process. It'll gump it up. So we don't want that. So we've got our queso fresco in there. and sea salt. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of sea salt, but as I said about my husband, kidney stones, we're going to do just a little bit less. I'm going to do half the salt, and it's sea salt. Sea salt's high in minerals, but that doesn't mean that's not going to help you form kidney stones like my husband does. Not everybody does, but he's one of them. And then we're going to use some garlic powder. I know I saw some garlic powder in my life. Now, you're going to say, Tina, didn't you just talk earlier about using fresh garlic? I like fresh garlic, but for these, I'm not sure how they're gonna, I haven't used fresh garlic in these, but we want a little savory flavor. Just know you're not gonna get immune boosting properties from the garlic powder, not garlic salt, because of course we don't want all of that salt in our lives. And finally, the 2 cups of the cassava and or tapioca flour. Oops. I think this one was all tapioca flour. I can tell tapioca flour is a little on the lighter side. So here we go. It's all good. Let's mix that up in our food processor. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pulse it. I'm not just going to turn it full on. I'm going to pulse, 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 okay? Make a little mess in the kitchen, but that's okay. Remember to turn the oven on to 400 degrees, okay? And you're gonna get little small muffin tins, little small muffin tins for these. And you can use a spray. This is either grapeseed oil, or you can use an avocado oil spray or an olive oil spray. These do not have propellants, and these oils are not rancid type oils that cause a lot of inflammation. When I talk about inflammation, I want you to think pain, okay? I want you to think pain. People who have arthritis, joint issues, any kind of pain issue, that's inflammation. So you want to make sure that in your life you eat foods that are anti-inflammatory. And the many sprays that are out there with the propellants and with seed oils are very inflammatory, okay? So try one of these instead. Try one of those instead. Okay, our mixture is complete. And now all I need to do is pour it. You know, it would be easier for me to pour. I'm gonna pour. I was gonna use a disher for this, but let's see if the disher is gonna work. I always pour it, but today I thought about a disher. Oh, my first thought was perfect. I could have poured it into the other cup and then into each of these, but this disher works beautifully. Here we go. So we're gonna cook this. I think they cook for about 20 minutes. Yeah, 400 degrees, 20 minutes. And if you've ever had cheesy bread, it is the most wonderful when it first comes out of the oven. When it first comes out of the oven is when I just want to eat them all. So when they come out, if I'm not ready to eat them and I need to put them in the fridge, and you can put them in the fridge, airtight container, okay, for 5 days or so, heat them up. Put them in the toaster oven for about 4 minutes, not the microwave. The microwave is going to destroy the nutrients, and it's not going to make them nice and crispy and gooey on the inside like they're supposed to be. Crispy on the outside, gooey on the inside. Put them in the toaster oven for about 4 minutes from the refrigerator. You can freeze these as well, and then from the freezer, put them right into the toaster oven. Not going to be as good as when you make them fresh, I'll tell you. This disher is perfect. This is the perfect idea. Now, there's something I just realized that I did a little silly, is that these are going to puff over, and I'm going to have a little bit of a problem on my hands, but that's okay. They'll be fun. They will be fun. Because I was supposed to fill them only 3/4 full, but oh well. Oh well. They'll puff up and we'll have a good time with them. Here we go. These are going to go in the oven for 20 minutes, 400 degrees, and then when we come back, we're going to pull the pork, and then we're gonna fry it up and make these wonderful carnitas, and we're also gonna make some Pico De Gallo. Welcome back. We're going to crisp up our carnitas. We're gonna crisp up our carnitas, but I promised you something. I promised you I'd show you a little trick of how to vent the steam from your Instant Pot without burning yourself. This is how you do it. Now, you grab a towel, you throw it over that little venti thing, and then you get something long-handled and you move it with something long-handled. Now, it already vented, so you're not gonna see shh, because that's what you'll see. And steam is very hot. Steam will burn you. Steam will burn you, okay? So heed my warning. You do not want to be burned. You put this over it, and then you use this to move this little valvey thing, okay? You're gonna do that. Now, we have to pull the pork. By the way, this lid will not come off if it is still pressurized. It will not come off. It will not open, okay? So you are safe. You are very, very safe. Now, I want to take the pork out in pieces. You can put this in a strainer. You know what? I need a slotted spoon for this. Let me grab a slotted spoon. My pork got so tender that I cannot take it out with my fork. It's probably going to pull itself. Now, you can put this in a strainer and get rid of the juices, but again, I'm lazy. I don't want to have to take the juices out, put the juices back in. Oh, sorry, while I'm doing this, I almost forgot. I'm gonna heat up my pan. I'm gonna heat that up, get it up nice and crispy hot. And here we go. Once again, I love that cast iron skillet. You see, the cinnamon, just put that right in the compost. The bay leaf, put it right in the compost. Okay, do I have all the beef? Or not the beef, the pork. Here we go. These are pork carnitas. Now, the nice part of using my tenderloin is that I don't have a lot of fat. Okay, so I don't have to strain the fat out. Not that fat is bad, it's just you don't want too much fat, okay? Now, I have a spatula somewhere in my life. Here we go. That is getting hot. Okay, I'm gonna put that down. Look how easy this is. I don't even need 2 forks to pull this. Look at this. Look at that. I don't even need 2 forks, because if you wanted to use the 2 forks, you just pull it apart like so. But look, it was doing it right just with my spatula. The pan is hot, so I need to get it in there to crisp it up right away. There we have it. Okay. Okay, let's put it all in there. This is the best part, when you get it nice and crispy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I even have some of the onions from the sauce right in there. There we go. Okay, there we have it. I'm going to put a little more olive oil on the top. We are going to let that crisp up. I'm going to put a little broth in there. I'm going to put a little broth in there. Ooh, that's hot. So you don't want to burn the pan, and you want a little bit of broth. Put that right in there. Not too much, okay? Not too much. Okay, now while that is crisping up, we're gonna make some Pico De Gallo, and it's going to be so easy. It's going to amaze you at how easy Pico De Gallo is. Pico De Gallo, I love the term, like that means the beak of the rooster. Why would they call it Pico De Gallo? I don't know why. I haven't gotten the answer as to why they call it Pico De Gallo. But Pico De Gallo is basically fresh tomatoes, fresh onions, Jalapenos are in here, jalapenos, and lime juice, and it needs a little bit of sea salt. So we're going to put a little bit of sea salt on there and some fresh cilantro. What I want to do is I want to show you, you don't want a lot of liquid in a Pico De Gallo. You don't want a lot of liquid. So when you cut your tomatoes up, Roma tomatoes are the way to go. Roma tomatoes. And this is what I want you to do. Slice your tomato in half. Get rid of that little stem there. We don't want that. And we're going to de-seed it. We don't want the seeds in our Pico De Gallo. We don't want all of that fleshy stuff on the inside. You're just going to scoop it out. And here's another little kitchen hack. It's a grapefruit spoon. It's a little grapefruit spoon. You just go around and you take all of that out. That easy. You don't want the liquid. Just compost it. You don't need it. It makes too much liquid. And it's not a salsa. It's a Pico De Gallo. That's the difference. That's the difference. Okay, here we go. Take that out. And the other thing that's missing from this is cilantro. And I'm going to show you how to cook up some cilantro. And then we're going to serve it all up with some of our muffins. Or cheesy bread, I meant to say. I want to call them muffins. They're cheesy bread. Now, I want you to notice something. When I was chopping with my knife with the skin side up, it was a little more difficult. So do the skin side down. Do the skin side down. It's a little easier. Okay? And chop it up into whatever size pieces you want. Whatever size pieces you want. So there's a red onion in here. Red onion has a little pop of flavor, more so than a yellow onion. So I like the red onions. You can use whatever onion you have, though. Whatever onion you have is perfectly fine for this recipe. Okay, let's do our last piece of tomato here. Remember, keep your fingers out of the way when you're slicing. Always claw these fingers. Always claw those fingers and use your scooper. Okay, so what's missing? What's missing is a bunch of cilantro. To keep your cilantro fresh, keep it in water on the countertop or even in the fridge in the water. Keeps it much, much longer, much fresher, much longer. Use as much cilantro or as little cilantro as you'd like. And what I want to do is show you how to chop up cilantro without destroying the cilantro. Now, you can pick all the leaves off, but remember, I'm lazy. So I'm just going to shave the leaves off of the stems, compost the stems. And then with the cilantro, if there's any pieces that are wilted, throw them away. I'm just going to bunch them up, kind of like a cigar, but not really. And what I want you to do with herbs, any kind of herbs this goes for, I want you to chop once. Don't macerate. I don't want to see any green juice on your cutting board. Because if you're leaving green juice on your cutting board, you've macerated your herbs and you're leaving the herbs on your cutting board versus in your dish. And you want your herbs in your dish. And it's okay if you get a little bit of stem, you just don't want a lot of stem because it'll end up being bitter. Okay, there we go. We have our cilantro. And there's already lime juice in here, tomatoes, lime juice, salt. We put the salt. You can even put even more cilantro if you want. I've got all that rest of that cilantro left over, or not. It all depends on you. And if you want some freshly cracked pepper in here, you can put that or not. So we have our, we're almost there. We're almost there. We have our Pico De Gallo. We have our Brazil bites, the cheesy bread. Actually, I called them cheesy bread. They are out of the oven. Let me show you these. Look how beautiful these are. Get the cilantro off of my hands. When they first come out of the oven, they're ooey, gooey, wonderful, and a little more, they're pliable. Oh my God, they are wonderful. I love my cheesy bread. Love, love, love my cheesy bread. So you can easily serve your carnitas with a little bit of cheesy bread if you want, or you can, you ready? This is not done yet. Where's my spatula? Or we'll just use this. This is still crisping up. Ooh, it's getting nice and crisp. Now, you can just crisp it on one side if you want, or you can flip it around and crisp it on both sides. I'm going to crisp it on both sides. I'm going to flip this around because our tortillas aren't ready yet. We want our tortillas to be ready. I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit, get it a little more crispy. And if this is getting a little too dry, you can add a little more broth to it. I turned up the heat just a little bit. Now, this is what my husband taught me. He grew up with a Hispanic family. I grew up next to a Hispanic family, and I never learned this, but I have two kinds of tortillas. I have a corn tortilla and a flour tortilla. I like the corn, my husband liked the flour. So, and if I do corn, I always do organic corn, lots of pesticides on corn. So I'm gonna go to the stove top, and I'm gonna show you what I do right on the flame. There you go. I'm gonna put it right on the flame, and I'm gonna heat it up right on the flame. So don't leave it, don't leave it. You stay next to it, because it might catch on fire. We don't want it to catch on fire, so don't leave it, okay? Don't leave it. I just left it, and then I'm gonna flip it over. Just let it heat up. Now, you could heat this up in a cast iron skillet if you wanted to, but my cast iron skillet is a little busy crisping up my pork. It's a little busy crisping up my pork, and it's getting there. Look how beautiful this is crisping up. Oops, I left my tortilla. Don't leave it. If it catches on fire, you just blow out the fire and let it heat up. That was one of the best tricks my husband taught me. One of the best tricks. One of them. One of them. It's almost done. Let's see. You don't have to heat up your tortilla, but it is wonderful when you do heat it up. Again, you can do corn, you can do flour, whatever you prefer. I prefer to be gluten-free, that's me. I think I just made a rhyme. Okay. My tortilla is heated up. There we have it. And I'm going to serve my carnita right on top. Well, that's a lot of meat. Maybe a little less meat. And I've got a nice little platter here. So you can decide, what do you want on your carnita? What do you want on it? Do you want some cheese? You put some little queso on top of that. You can have some Pico De Gallo, put that on top. Whatever is going to fit into your tortilla here. This is avocado. I love avocado. Some really good healthy fats for your brain. Some cilantro, and of course, I always love lime. A little bit of lime on my carnita. And then you can serve it with a side of some cheesy bread. And there we have it. There we have it. How exciting. We have our pork carnitas and our cheesy bread ready to be devoured. Are you ready to have some? Thank you so much for being here on this Hispanic Heritage Month cooking class. I am so excited that you participated with us today. And until next time, bye for now, everyone. Bye for now.